Hi everyone, I'm so happy to be with you again here today and to show you some wonderful dolls that I've had the privilege of working with for the past month, and now I want to share them with you before they go on their way to new homes. These dolls are from the Billie and Paige Welker collection of North Carolina, and this couple had the most discerning taste in choosing wonderful, wonderful, rare characters across the board. They went from American folk to German bisque to French dolls, but always looking for the very rare and unusual. And I wanted to just share some of the great ones with you today. I wanted to start with the art character dolls, as they are commonly known in their genre in the field, the art character dolls. Now, there is a common belief that the art character dolls began in 1909 with the introduction of the Munich art doll, and I'm going to show you one in a little bit. But I kind of argue this thesis because from my point of view, there were art character dolls being made back in the 1885, 1890, 1895 period, and I have a few of them here to show you today. Some of them mystery dolls. In Germany, for example, in the Sonnenberg area, there were wonderful characters being made to represent, to try to copy the French character dolls that were being made and to try to capture the market, that market that the French just totally controlled at this point. And the Sonnenbergs made wonderful characters. And those of you who are collectors, who are collecting on a limited budget, I want to tell you, in my opinion, these early Sonnenberg dolls are such sleepers. They've got such a way to go, and it's a good opportunity for you to try to find some. This is a really, really rare character. When I always advise people when they're collecting black complexion dolls that what they want to seek are those dolls that have really a flawless complexion. That is, that they don't have rubs or scratches, because that shows up so much more. And when you can find one like this particular model that has just great characterization and gorgeous, gorgeous bisque, and I'm going to show you so you can see the profile of her as well. Wonderful, wonderful modeling in every way. Great sculpting and beautiful complexion and fine luminous bisque on her. Now, one of the firms that made character dolls in France was, this is prior now to the German art character movement, was Bru, believe it or not. Leon Casimir Bru began back in 1867, so we're going back almost like 30 years. Well, maybe my math is bad, more like 40 years. When he introduced his poupée, a lady doll with a double face. She could have been smiling and awake. She could have been sleeping and smiling. Various faces he would put on this, and he actually deposed this model in the French courts. He also later evolved his poupée. When the child doll, the bébé, came along, he evolved that into bébé. And this is such a rare doll from the Welker collection. Rare because the very concept of it is rare, the two-faced doll. I'll show you the other face in a while. I guess this is the other face is the one you show your naughty and nice child, the naughty child. But this is not only rare because of the model, but the quality of the bisque is so extraordinary. Sculpting is wonderful, and the size, you never find it in this large size. Very, very rare example. Here is a smiling face, and then very simply, the mechanism would be activated by yourself by turning the head, and you would see, tipping the head up, the naughty guy. And even the complexion was made rosier in order to show like an angry face that had turned red from anger. So very, very wonderful expression. If I turn to the side, I hope you can pick up the paperweight quality of the eyes, because he was making a character face but still sticking with his things that made his pretty bébés so wonderful. Simon and Halbig, who did many dolls for the late French market, starting about 1895 and then into 1900, 1910, 1915, it's very dubious on some of the dolls whether he made them specifically for the French market or made them to market himself, because some of them are actually unmarked. And this is a very, very good example right here. Look at this fellow. I'm going to move these so you can see a little better. Our Polichinelle. And again, please look at the size of this. So rare to find these large dolls. This was so difficult. They were so difficult to make. They were such a luxury doll, and to have it at all is extraordinary. Now, look at his. When we turn him, I want you to see the profile of his face, how extraordinary it is, and then we'll come back and talk about the face itself. The nose, the jutting chin, absolutely wonderful. A great character look. Costumed in a wonderful Polichinelle costume with the hump in the back and the hump at the stomach, which is the very typical costume, a very traditional French figure for several centuries, in fact. And turning it back around, please look, if the camera can pick up, these are not just painted brows. These brows are actually sculpted. They have great definition. There's wonderful little wrinkles around by the eyes, around by the nose, and these things all add to the characterization of the doll, which could have been made in many ways. Very likely, like 95%, it is a Simon & Helbig, but made for the French market, made to be marketed to the French. Along that same line is our wonderful woman right here, who has great character. And again, some of these character dolls, they're not always pretty. They're not always pretty, ladies and gentlemen. They kind of are like us. They have all of our human characters, and they were trying to bring these out in their depictions, which may be one of the reasons why the dolls are so rare today, because they were not popular. You didn't walk into the store and say, oh, I'll take that homely doll or that plain doll. They wanted a pretty doll for their child. So the dolls are very rare to find today. I want to show you something very interesting. You see these two dolls? They look totally different, yet both of them are marked Simon & Helbig 1303. They're both the same model from Simon & Helbig. And what would happen is, with some variation in the fact that the lady has glass eyes, the Native American has painted eyes, difference in the complexion, difference in the size, which makes a great deal of sense when it comes to the sculpting of, of features, that you can get more definition the larger the size. But we have here two dolls, same model number from Simon & Helbig, a very, very interesting case study in how that would be. This one I would date into the 1890 period, and this one coming more into the 1910 period. So that's another reason. There'd just be some changes, slight changes in the modeling. And I now will show you from this group of early characters, my favorite, and we put her on the cover of the Welker catalog because I think this doll is so absolutely extraordinary. She's been a previous Blue Ribbon winner at conventions, and she is, I've been in 45 years, I've never seen another one. This is the only model of this that I have ever seen. And again, we're going to show you her profile, and then we're going to come on and talk. Very, very strong features, very strong, not only a pronounced nose, but very rounded at the bridge, very double chin. Eyes are like sunken in. The eye sockets are sunken with wrinkles around them. This is a woman who's seen a lot of life. And it's just a wonderful doll. She's unsigned. I'm quite certain she's a Simon & Helbig doll. Who commissioned her, why she was made, did she appear in an exhibition? I don't know. I could see that this doll might have been in an exhibition with a group of children around her, and she would be the kindly grandmother, but just absolutely wonderful. Some people have looked at it and say, I think it should be a man, and whoever owns a doll can have a man or a woman. It's okay, however they want to costume her, because what you're looking for is an extraordinarily rare face, deep sculpting, fine bisque, great doll. Now, I talked to you at the beginning of the video about the art character movement and the theory that the art character dolls began in 1908, 1909 with the exhibition of dolls at the Munich Art Fair that were depicting children with really realistic faces, pouting, wistful, sometimes even crying, pensive, intelligent-looking faces. And as I said to you before, in my opinion, actually the art character movement started earlier. But in 1908, a couple things began to happen. There were rumblings throughout the whole doll industry, and there was a general movement to take dolls away from being pretty dolly dolls into being dolls of character, which is why they're called the art character dolls. Generally, the movement is credited to have belonged to the Marion Collitz doll, which was presented at the Munich Art Fair in 1908, and right here we have an example of one of the Munich art dolls. The dolls were not made of bisque or porcelain. They were made of a very hard composition, almost solid, and a very textured complexion. It's not smooth. It has almost like a sculpting quality to it, which gives it a very distinctive look, and I think really, really great treasures. You don't find many of them at all. Now, happening almost simultaneously in different parts were the Kathy Cruz dolls. And here's an example of the Kathy Cruz doll, which certainly was one of the earliest of the art character movement dolls, with their very, very pensive face and wonderful look about them. So Kathy Cruz. And then across the ocean, across the big pond in America, there was an art movement of sorts taking place too, and that was a lot of it being inspired by this German art character movement. But Alfred Schoenhut in Philadelphia was starting to create his series of art character dolls, and one of them is Schnickelfritz that you're seeing here. And the Schnickelfritz is made of wood, the Kathy Cruz is made of cloth, Marion Collis is made of composition, all of them moving away from the general past movement of simply making dolls of bisque, molding them, sculpting them, and pouring the bisque. Very, very highly characterized features could be achieved. Now we come back to our friend Simon Halbig. Simon & Halbig, who is still making their dolls that were designed for the French market, but also starting to create a series of art character dolls as well. I think the Simon & Halbig to me is very, very puzzling, because always remember that the Simon & Halbig firm mainly made dolls for other people on commission, most notably Cameron Reinhardt. The whole Cameron Reinhardt art character series was made from bisque heads that were commissioned and poured and painted in the Simon & Halbig firm and marketed as Cameron Reinhardt because they were their particular models. But these are two. Simon & Halbig had a wonderful series of 3 dolls from the 150 series, the woman, the child, and then a little boy. And we have 2 of them in this series, and the woman in particular is absolutely extraordinary. You do want to look at the catalog for this auction, where it will tell the complete story of Rosa Luxemburg that Marianne Cieslik has been doing research about, and she believes that this is an actual portrait of Rosa Luxemburg, who was a very fiery advocate for human rights at the time that this doll was made. This is an extraordinary example. Let me show you the profile of the face. Very elegant long nose, very elegant features. I want to turn it around so you can see this doll has her original wig, which is just beautifully kept. Very soft, but very refined, very elegant. A lovely day dress, which is also antique, original to her. And coming in on her face, please look at those eyes. They are so deep. They're not glass eyes, they're sculpted eyes, and the intaglio sculpting on them is so pronounced as to make them very, very human-like looking. And then her little daughter, or as you will, little child standing next to her, again, part of the same type of look. I think, in my opinion, the 3 dolls from the Simon & Halbig 150 series are some of the keynotes that should be in every collection that aims to have a really fine collection of art character dolls. Now, Armand Marseille, who is rightfully known more for their prolific production of child dolls that were sold in budget stores, and it is the famous 390 model and the famous 370 model. But few people realize how many wonderful character dolls that firm also made. Just really great things. One of the rarest they made were their painted eye characters. They show up very, very seldom, and when they do, wow, they're just absolutely wonderful. And this is an example of one of their great art character dolls. And again, if the camera can pick up the different details of the face, and I'll turn it around so you can see her wonderful hair as well, with the ribbons braided through the hair. And also, please do note the costume, because it is just wonderful. This Armand Marseille characters do not have a model number. They're just marked AM with a number in beside, big letters AM with a number in between, indicating that it was made by Marseille, but not with a particular model number.